Hello there ATS EVS 105 students, Dr. John Schrage here, and I am just giving you a quick overview of the first module of our course. This first module is not the most technical thing that we're going to do this semester, and it's just because we're really just going to be getting started, and we only have a week and a half to do this first module. Most of the 8 modules that make up the class are 2 weeks long, but because of the way the semester's starting end dates fall, we have one of them that's only a week and a half. We have another one later that's also, I think, a week and a half. Anyway, so we're just going to make it through the first module of the course. Whenever we start a new module, you should always go through the module overview, which is the page where this particular lecture, this video is right now. You might be watching this from the email I sent you rather than from the page. This will always give you kind of an overview of what we're doing in this module, some of the objectives and so on. Creighton requires that we tell you stuff like that so that you understand the kinds of things you're going to be measured based on, or how we're going to be assessing you, giving you grades, etc. You can see then some of the key objectives and so on that we're having in this module. It also shows you how the points are distributed. If you haven't noticed in the syllabus here, all of the modules of the total course is worth 1,000 points, and each of the 8 modules is worth 1/8 of that, or 125 points. In this particular module, there's not a lot of vocabulary, there's not a lot of technical stuff going on. It's actually fairly hard to write a quiz at the end of the module for you, because the quizzes kind of need to be multiple choice or something like that. So in this particular module, only 30 points come from the quiz at the end of the module, 50 come from the discussion that you're going to be participating in, and 45 come from a homework set that you're doing. So this module is sort of heavy towards the discussion and so on, whereas other modules that maybe have a lot of key terms and things like that might have more of the points shifted towards the quizzes. Every module is different. And then it actually gives you the list of the assignments and activities in this module. For example, in this module, the first thing I want you to do is to read the entire first chapter of your textbook. The first chapter is not such a technical thing and is not all that long. I mean, I don't know, it's maybe 10 pages or something. That's all you got to do with that. All right, read that stuff. Then there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 little lectures here for you, okay, that add up to about the same number of minutes we would have been in a classroom if this weren't an online course. A little bit less because I give a little bit of flexibility with regard to, like, I mean, the quiz, for example, would have been time we spent in the class and so on. The discussions would have been time we spent in the class. So, I think this adds up to about 160 minutes, and we would have been in the classroom about 180 or something. So, okay, so that's fine. All right. Anyway, so there's these lectures here. Now, there's also a homework set, and I don't have the dates filled in and stuff like that. Let me go show you on Blue Line where you're going to find these things. After the module overview, you see all the, where you get the reading assignment and so on. You see each of these lectures. Okay, now I have the lecture set up a couple of different ways. Let me show you what's going on. If I just take this one here. This lecture is called Weather and Climate. All right, this is a pretty typical looking, what a page will look like when you go to a lecture. There's a handout. The handout, I actually make it available to you in 4 different formats. I've been doing this online teaching for a while, and I have found that there's no one solution that works for everybody. Some people, I mean, everybody can look at a PDF on the screen, but not everybody can print it for some reason. For some reason, some of these PDFs that are generated based on PowerPoint handouts don't print for people. Some people like to have the PowerPoint handout because they can print it full page, or they can print 10 of them to a page, or they can do whatever. So just read through your choices here. There's always 4 versions of the handout. Am I telling you you have to print the handout? No, I'm not telling you that. You have to know your own study skills as to whether or not printing out the handout is a good idea, or if it's something you'd rather work with on the screen or whatever. I mean, you know your own study skills. But definitely get a copy of the handout in one of these formats, because it'll help you. Keep in mind that the PowerPoint presentations that these handouts are based on, sometimes there's a lot of slides, because I don't want to say it was an animation, but I kind of like layer information on the slides. So just because, oh my goodness, this PowerPoint has 75 slides. Yeah, but it only took 20 minutes. I mean, I'm just kind of, I don't want to say animating, but it's kind of like animating. All right, so once you get a copy of the handout, you're going to watch the video lecture. Now, like I said, there's a couple of different ways I've got these set up. This particular lecture, for example, I actually have put on 2 different servers. One is on my home web server in Indiana, and one of them is on a web server at Creighton, and you can read the pros and cons of each of them. It's the same content either way. I'm just going to choose the one here at my house in Indiana on my personal server. But when you follow that link, you'll actually be taken to the beginning of this lecture. You'll watch this video. I strongly recommend when you watch it, use the YouTube controls to make it full screen and all that good stuff, and the highest resolution possible, and so on. Adjusting to HD and stuff like that, you'll just have so much better results. The instructions on how to do that are always at the bottom of a page. If I have a YouTube video on the page, I always put these instructions on here so you can see how to do all that. The ways these lectures tend to work is that I talk for a few minutes and then I pose a question. And you will answer the question. Here's the question usually typed out down here too. And then you choose one of these 4 links based on your answer to the question. And some of these answers are right and some are wrong. I'll just pick one of these here. Oh, sorry, that's not the right answer. Watch this short video to follow out why. Once you've done, that may be for 30 seconds or something. I explained to you why that's not the right answer. And then you move on. And here's question 2. And then maybe you move on. Nope, that's not the right answer on that one. All right, but after a couple of clicks of answering a couple questions, now you've moved on to the next part of the lecture. Okay, so here's another, I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes of the lecture or something before I ask another question, and so on, and we work our way through this. It just makes it a little more interactive. I found that if I just talk for like an hour, unsurprisingly, the students put on the background and they're browsing or whatever. If they have to click on things every few minutes, it helps. And they get samples of the kinds of questions that could be on the quizzes and stuff like that. None of that's tracked. I don't have any mechanism here to follow you as to how you're doing or whatever. Why is it on this separate server? Like this happens to be on my server at home that you'd be getting it from. It has to do with the fact that Blue Line's way of okay, you can well imagine that as we're doing this, if there's a separate web page for each answer of each question and so on, I mean this adds up to hundreds of web pages. It's easier for me to keep them on my Linux server here than on Blue Line. Blue Line doesn't have really any good ways to like manage hundreds of web pages, okay? So that's like it can't sort, for example, and it can't like throw out all the pages that have this name and things like that. So it just I can manage it better when it's on my home computer. And like I said, there's actually the same exact one is also on the server at Creighton. If you I'll show you that link right now actually. So you can get the same thing. It's just on a pacific.creighton.edu is one of the web servers at Creighton. Okay, so Pacific happens to be a somewhat less reliable computer, but whatever. Anyway, so you can see how that all works. All right, now if I go back here to, yeah. All right, just so you can see here, a few of the lectures don't have that kind of questions embedded in there. I think this is one of them, for example. Yeah, here I just, on the page where you get the handouts for this particular lecture, I just embedded the YouTube video right here. Oh yeah, okay, so I'm on Linux, and Linux doesn't allow you to do that, but you will be able to do that just fine on your home computer. So if there's not embedded questions, I just put it on the same page as the handouts, and it's no big deal. Alright, every module has to have online discussions, and those online discussions are graded. In this case, they're a huge part of the grade. Apparently it's 45 points of your grade. I thought it was 50. I'll have to check that. Here is then the problem that you answer. You answer this question. In this case, it is sort of a what do you believe and why do you believe it kind of question. It's very discussion-oriented. Some of them are more like a little lab activity or something like that. And then after the due date for these discussions, then you have to go back online and read what other people posted and respond. And your response can't be more, it has to be more than just, oh, I agree, or good work. Okay, you get some points for that because at least you went back and you read them. But you have to do something that advances the discussion. You know, when somebody has written something, you have to say, look at them and say, yeah, but you didn't think about this, or I agree, and here's another really good example. Okay, that's how I grade it. Showing you, by the way, how I grade it is part of what we do here. If you want to see how we grade these things, go under this tool, this settings bar here. See it says Show Rubric? You will see exactly how I'm grading these things, okay? If you're graded on your clarity, your grammar, your professional communication, and it'll show you like what counts as 5 points, what gets you 3 points, what gets you 0 points. For question 1 on the discussion, what gets you 10 points, what gets you 5 points, etc. Okay? You can always, whether it's the homework or the discussions, you can always see how I'm going to grade it by just going up there and looking at the grading rubric. Okay? That's not a secret. You can always do that. In fact, you should be able to do that in any online class you take. Okay? Sometimes it's a work in progress and they aren't all working, for somebody. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble here. So you'll be doing that. There's also an assignment. The assignment, the due dates will be given to you and so on, but there's just a little written assignment You will do the assignment, type it up in Word or something like that and upload it. And again, here's the rubric for that assignment so that you can see exactly what it takes to get the grade that you want. The key for the homework set will be available for you after the homework set is due. There'll be a few days between when the homework set is due and when the quiz happens. That way you can, if I don't get them graded in time, you have the key with all the right answers. Okay? There's also a review sheet. The review sheet has things like key terms and key concepts in this to help you prepare for the quiz. Now again, as I said, this first module doesn't have a lot of vocabulary or anything. It was really, really hard for me to write enough questions to make this all work out for this module. This module is just a little bit softer than a lot of the things we're going to be seeing later in the semester. Alright, so anyway, but that is where all the, you can have this and use this as a way to study. You can always, of course, contact me, email me, contact me during office hours, whatever works for you. And then finally, there is a quiz. Now, you have to do the quiz during the 48-hour window that I have it assigned. It's from a Friday at, a minute after midnight to a Saturday at a minute before midnight. There's a 48-hour period. You can do the quiz anytime during that 48-hour period, but once you start, you have a certain number of minutes to do the whole quiz. It's usually a little bit more than 1 minute per question, like a minute and 20 seconds per question or something like that. The questions are generally multiple choice and true, false, and things like that. So they don't, you're not typing an essay question in a minute and 20 seconds or something. I mean, you're just reflecting on this little multiple choice question or this little true, false question. Generally speaking, in my other online classes, students don't have trouble finishing in the time of the quiz allotted. All right, now in my view, I can see that there's other modules coming and they're in various stages of being ready and so on, but when the students are looking at it, you can't yet see those upcoming modules and so on. All right, just gave you a little tour there how that first module is going to work. All the other modules are going to work in very much the same sort of way. Please let me know if you have any questions about this, and I am excited about this semester. This has been Dr. John Schrage.